Hello, dear learners. Today we are going to learn three sector economy and the equilibrium of the country, equilibrium of the economy. Okay, so for this, let's see what exactly uh, how exactly income can be calculated in three sector economy. As we all have learned, two sector simple economy, where in a country we have got two main sectors. One is a production sector, other is a consumption sector. That is nothing but firm producing and household consuming in a circular flow economy, right? So production, firm and the households are the two sectors where firm is investing and producing the commodities and household is consuming the same commodities, goods and services. So total income of the country can be simply calculated by summing up the total consumptions of all the households plus total investments done by all the firms. Firms invest in the production, that is, they invest in the factors of production. So thus totaling these two, we get two sector economy income. Now, as we are learning today, three sector economy, we are going to add one more component to this, and that is G. C plus I plus G thus becomes the income in the three sector economy. What we are doing, we are just adding this variable and we are getting the income of the country. Now, interestingly, in the two sector simple economy, to make our life more convenient, more easy, to develop some public goods, we required a government, an agency which will do this work, providing safety, defense, bringing law, justice, and order. We have created household and firm, create government as an agency, okay, as an sector. So whenever government comes in picture, what is expected? We expect that government should spend for the public welfare. But to spend for public welfare, government need funds. And thus, how they can create fund? Yes, there are two sources by which they can create their own fund. One is tax revenue and other is non-tax revenue. But as we know that non-tax revenue, like, prices of the government goods and services which are sold in the market, is not that enough, sufficient enough to pay for the various types of public goods and services. And that's why government of most of the countries are imposing taxes, which has become a major portion of the government revenue. So, student, what we learn, so whenever we introduce government in the country, automatically for the obviously for public welfare, right? But automatically that requires the government to impose taxes. Thus, we have got two components in the three sector economy. One is G, which is in plus because it is going to add to the income of the country. But whereas taxes is a deduction of the income, so definitely tax imposition will have its impact on the income. So let us see the two cases. I was discussing about the two cases. Let us have see the first case, extreme case, where government is only spending and there are no taxes being imposed by the government. I know this is quite extreme case, but this is also possible. There can be a government which is not able to tax because people in the country are very poor, but to eradicate poverty of the country, they have to spend. Now, how they can spend? Very simple. They can borrow loans from other countries, or they can borrow loans from their internal sources, like they can borrow loan from their central bank of the country. They can borrow loan by sending their government bonds to the public, and thereby they can raise funds. That way also they can spend. So in this first case, we have government spendings G, that is plus G, but there are no taxes. So let's take an example. Suppose our consumption before three sector economy was there, consumption country was 100 crore, investment in by the firms was 100 crore, and now government has been added. For simplicity, let us assume that government is also government is also spending, let us say, rupees 100 crore on public. So it's very simple. We can, in a very simple way, we can get the income of the country. It is simple summation of C plus I plus G, and thus 100 plus 100 plus 100, we get income of the country, that is 300 crore, right? So this become income of the country with only government spending and there are no taxes imposed. Let's take a other way down. Suppose a country is its government is such that they are not spending on a public. They are very autarkic government. They are not spending on the public, but they're taxing public a lot. This may also be the case. So in that case, suppose government imposes lump sum tax. There are two types of taxes we are going to learn. Lump sum tax, that is, it is non-related to the income. Everyone have the same tax burden. It's called lump sum tax, and it can be a proportional tax where your tax burden changes as per your income. Higher the income, higher the tax; lower the income, lower the tax. That is what is called proportional tax, is up as a proportion of the income. So let us take an example of government here in case 2 is imposing lump sum taxes and it is not spending on the public. Then in that case, this G segment will not be there. Then in that case, Y will be equal to C will be plus I, C plus I, since there are no government expenditure but there are taxes. And as you know, very as a common man's information everyone has, that whenever government is imposing taxes, our family income declines. Whenever government imposes taxes, corporate sector income declines, firms income declines, their profit declines, right? And that's why tax amount will come as a negative, as there's a deduction in the income. So let us assume that if consumption of the country is 100 crore, investment in the country was 100 crore in a two sector economy, income was 200 crore. But since we have included now added government in here, which only taxes, and let us assume government is taxing, let us say 100 crore on the household and the firm, then the total income of the country will be 100 plus 100, 200 minus 100, it will be rupees 100 crore. I hope this is a very simple arithmetic calculation that we have done, but I wanted to just show you that how G has a positive impact on the income, as income has increased from 200 two sector economy to 300 to three sector economy. Whereas in the same three sector economy, when we are having only taxes being imposed, so income has actually declined from 300 crore to 100 crore. So this is how we can understand the positive and negative impact of G and tax respectively, right? However, students, you feel it is so simple, we have understood this topic, but it is not the case. As you have learned, investment multiplier, that is, one time investment done by the firm does not lead to that much time or one time increase in the income of the country. One time investment does not generate income only for that period, it generates income for many more periods to come, because we are investing in the capital goods which are durable in nature, which helps in the production process for a longer period of time, and therefore investment multiplier shows the effect of one time investment on multiple income generation. Same logic we are going to use for the same logic we are going to use for the um, G, effect of G and effect of tax. Why it is so? Take for example, suppose we in the three sector economy, government is spending. So let us take government is constructing a bridge, okay, and for that government has spent some amount. Let us say 100 crore government has spent to construct a bridge. That bridge is constructed not for this year. It is going to work, this bridge is going to be used by household and firm for many more years. And that bridge has helped in increasing trade, commerce, transportation, migration of labor, utilization of land from this place to that place connection. And that has encouraged so many economic activities, leading to rise in the employment and thereby rise in the income in the economy, right? So obviously a one time government spending by the government does not bring one time rise in the income. It results into, it can result into multiple times rise in the income, not for the current period but for many more years to come. This effect we have to learn, right? Similarly, a tax imposition one time is not only affecting your overall income of the country for that particular year. You may think that Nirmala Sitharaman is taxing this year, right? So next year, so this year's income will be falling. Next year it is not going to affect. It is not the case. when our honorable finance minister declares its budget and they impose its taxes, it has got its repercussion on the upcoming future years. How? Suppose this year my income has been deducted for the payment of taxes, that will reduce my consumption, right? With my fall in the consumption, I will be buying less of the goods and services from the market. Since I am doing so, you all will be doing the same. If your income is being cut, is being reduced by tax amount, you are going to reduce your consumption. When all people in the country are reducing their consumption, this C amount is going to fall down. Tax is not only imposed on households, tax is also imposed on the firm's output. Like we have excise duty, we have VAT, we have service tax, we have got corporate tax. So even firms are being taxed. So when their income is taxed, they will be discouraged to invest more in the business. And that leads to what? Investment in the country will fall. Not only for this year, this have its effect on the upcoming. How it is? Because although this year I have been taxed, so my this year's the amount of tax I have paid to the government, that much amount of consumption I have reduced. Amount of tax that I have paid by the firm, that much amount of investment the firm will be reducing. However, students, when I'm reducing my consumption this year, that means I'm reducing my demand this year, which will result into what? Producers not producing this extra quantity because now people are buying less. So why should I produce more? So producers will start producing lesser quantities and thus they will have a further less fall in the investments. As production को कम करना है, so investment ज़्यादा क्यों करना है? And thus they will invest less in the business. Where do the firms invest? They actually invest in 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, enterprise. So when they are not investing in the business, they are going to reduce the employment. When employment is falling, income of the household is falling. Fall in the income of the household leads to further fall in consumption. Are you all understanding now? First time consumption fell down because of because of rise in the taxes, because of a tax. And because of that fall in the consumption in the first stage, at first place, led to further fall in the aggregate demand. As a result, producers reduce the production. As a result, there's a fall in the employment, fall in the income, and that fall in the income now due to market changes leads to further fall in the consumption. So there is no one time effect of a tax on the consumption. It has got a effect of the tax for many more years to come. And that is the reason we cannot simply do the aggregation of C plus I plus J and get the income and done C plus I minus T, then we get the tax effect. It is not the case. So for this reason, we must understand two more concepts. In the first case, we will be using government expenditure. Sorry, spelling mistake. It's a government expenditure multiplier we'll be learning, where we want to see कि if 100 crore rupees of a government expenditure is done by the government, how many multiple times income is going to increase. Similarly, we are going to learn tax multiplier, where we are going to find out the multiple effect of a one-time tax imposition on the income generation in the country or in the economy, right? So we are going to learn these two concepts in more detail to understand the effect of government expenditure and taxes with the help of government expenditure multiplier and tax multiplier. Okay, so this topic will definitely will help you. Rather, you'll be able to appreciate, you'll be able to evaluate our current government policy. If government is spending this much amount, let us say XYZ amount, what will be? It's not a one-time XYZ effect on the economy. It has got a multiple effect on the economy. Tax also has a multiple effect on the economy. So you'll be able to evaluate, you'll be able to judge, you'll be able to critically evaluate the government policy with reference to expenditure and with reference to government revenue or tax. Okay, so let us see this in more detail. So let us first understand government expenditure multiplier. For this, let us start with some case. So what I'm doing, we are just first finding out what is equilibrium income in the three sector economy. As we have just now seen, y is equal to simple summation of c plus I plus g is our equilibrium income of three sector. Okay. Now, what we'll be doing in this, let me put this name as equation number 1. In this equation 1, now I'm going to solve, I'm going to replace the consumption function in place of c. And you all know that consumption function is c is equal to a plus b of y. Okay. Let us replace this in the above equation. This is our first equation, equilibrium income equation. In this, I'm going to replace consumption function. So y now becomes equal to, I'm just replacing c here by a plus b of y plus I, as it is I'm copying it, plus g. Okay. Now let's solve it. So as you can see here, we can just take this on this side to solve it. So this becomes y minus plus by becomes minus by when it goes to left hand side. Okay, sorry. Then it becomes a plus I plus g. Now you can see common y. I am just solving it, the left hand side, and simplifying it. Now we will take, we are solving it for y. So I'm taking 1 minus b, which is in multiplication with y here. There it will become 1 upon 1 minus b, that is a division. It will be dividing a plus I plus g, right? So students, what we learn that the three sector economy equilibrium income equation, we have converted from this simple equation to this equation because we want to find out multiplier effect of g on y. Just to recollect, you all, if you just can recollect it, you all know that 1 minus b, you all know that yes, you all know that 1 upon 1 minus b. What is b? As you can see, c is what? A, autonomous consumption, plus induced consumption, right? We have done this in consumption function, so refer my consumption function video to understand what exactly c is equal to a plus b of y. I'm not going to discuss this now. So what we see, a is a autonomous consumption, b is a mpc, marginal propensity to consume. That is how much of additional income we are spending on additional consumption. Delta C upon delta Y. That is our B. Now, we have also learned investment multiplier in the classroom, where we know that multiplier value is given by 1 upon 1 minus MPC. We can call it as a B is means 1, B means 1, B means MPC. So we can call it as a 1 upon 1 minus B is same as 1 upon 1 minus MPC. And we also know that this is also called as K. K means investment multiplier or multiplier. So you can see here, in case of three sector economy, also the multiplier value is given by 1 upon 1 minus B. Okay. I hope you are understanding this. So just please note down this or take a screenshot of this so that we can proceed with better understanding with the help of values. If you have not understood this in detail now, don't worry. Now we'll do some small calculations by which you will understand the entire concept. Okay. So I hope you have taken a screenshot or you have just copied down when I was teaching. So I'm proceeding with the next slide with this formula. Now I'll just write down the formula once again here. Y is equal to 1 upon 1 minus B into A plus I plus G. Equilibrium income equation in three sector economy. Now let's assume some values for A, I and G. Suppose A, that is autonomous consumption, let us say it is rupees 100 crore. Let's take a very simple values. Let's assume I is also rupees 100 crore, and let us now assume that G, as we have taken in our example before, is also rupees 100 crore. Okay, and let's assume the value of MPC, marginal propensity to consume. The value of MPC is, let's say, 0.5. That is that is 50%. What it means? 50% of additional consumption is happening due to additional income. So we are spending 50% of additional income on consumption. That is what is the meaning of 0.5 or 50% of consumption. Okay. Now let's put these values in the Y. So y is equal to 1 upon 1 minus 0.5. I'm just simply putting the values over here. Multiply by rupees 100 consumption, autonomous consumption, rupees 100 investment, rupees 100 government expenditure. If we try to solve this, we get 1 upon 1 minus 0.5 is obviously answer is 0.5. This becomes equal to 300 crore. Now 1 upon 5 upon 10 into 300. 300. So you all have learned school mathematics. So it becomes 10 upon 5 into 300. You can see 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10. So the value of this is, that is 1 upon 1 minus b is 2, right? We got the value of multiplier here, that is 2. We have a autonomous consumption, investment and government spending of total together 300. Then the country's income will not be 300, right? Because it has got a multiplier value of 2 times. That means when there is a autonomous consumption of 100, investments of 100 and government spending of 100, that will lead to not only 300 but rather it will lead to 600 crore. How? Because now if I solve this, 2 into 300 crores will get the answer rupees 600 crore, right? So what we see, one time government spending or these variables have a multiple times effect on the income of the country. Correct? I hope you all have understood this. Just copy it down or take a screenshot of this. Now I'm going to tell you, let us focus only, because here I have taken all the autonomous consumption, investment, government. Now we want to just focus on how much is the impact of government spending on the income, because here we are having the mixed effect of consumption, of investment, because each of them are having a double impact on the income. We want to see the impact of only government spending on income, keeping the consumption, keeping the investment as it is. Huh? That means now we are going to focus on government expenditure multiplier. Okay, so let's do that. So government expenditure multiplier, for that we will reuse this formula. See, now when we are assuming that we are only focusing on, now as I said, we are going to find out the effect of government spending on income. So let us assume other variables constant. That is, let us assume A remaining constant, no change in the autonomous consumption. It's not zero, huh? It is constant. There is no change. Whatever consumption we had last year, same consumption is happening this year. Similarly, investment is remaining same. That is, whatever investment was done last year, same investment is done this year. So there is no change. There is a zero change in the A and I. And let us assume there is only a change. There is only a change in the government spending. Always remember, in economics we write delta, triangle shape symbol we use to show change. So change, so if there's a change in the government spending, it will definitely have an impact on income. So income is going to change, but this change will be by the amount, by the 1 upon 1 minus b. So I'll just rewrite this again. So delta y, that is change in the income of the country, is equal to 1 upon 1 minus b into change in A is 0. So A is constant, I is constant, only G is changing. So when we look at the change in consumption, it is 0, as there is no change, there is no addition, there is no subtraction in the consumption. Investment is remaining as it is what it was last year, so change will be 0. But let us assume government has increased its government spending by 100. So new government spending, so last year they had spent 100 crore rupees, this year they are spending 200 crore rupees. So addition of government spending is of 100, change is 100. 200 minus 100, that shows a change in the government spending. So it is 100. So now let's put this value. We already know from the last slide the value of 1 upon 1 minus b is 2, right? If you all remember, just scroll back the video, you will come to know. 2 into 100, so that will be a change in the income. So what will be the change in the income now? 2 into 100 is 200. If we are taking crore values, rupees 200 crores of new income, change in the income will be seen. Okay, so 100 crore rise in the government spending has not led to only 100 crore rise in the income of the country. It has led to 2 times rise in the income. This is called as a government expenditure multiplier. A one time government spending, in our case b is 0.5, that's why 2 times is a rise in the income of the country. Of course, if the value of the b is different, no, we'll have a different answer over here, which have its impact on the change in the consumption. So if value of the b is lower than 0.50, so definitely expenditure multiplier will be lower. If value of the b is higher, expenditure multiplier will be higher. Clear? So this is what we have learned, government expenditure multiplier. Now let us see what is the income today, because this is only showing change in income. Okay, now let us see what is the income now. As you can see, so to see the income in the current year, last year, so let's see. So how we can do this? Let us say this is current year income y2, year 2's income is nothing but last year's income plus change in income. So what was last year's income? Last year income was, I think, 300, right? 300. And this year, and the change in the income for this year after government spending is 200 crore. Thus, this year income will be 500 crore, right? Income of this year will be 500 crore. So this is how we can understand the importance of government expenditure in the country. So whenever is government spending in the country for productive purpose, it is definitely going to have a positive impact on the national income of the country. So this is what is the moral of the story, that government should spend on for productive purposes, so that it leads to rise in a C plus I, and thereby there is a multiple effect on the income generation of the country, and country will develop.